Now I'm in the, oh, that's your drawing.
I know.
Okay.
There you
I'm in
go.
and it says that I'm there.
Yep. Just maximize this. Matt, click on that. There
Oh,
you
it says I'm
go.
talking.
There, but you can't hear it.
They may not have turned it on yet. That's why.
Okay, what's this say? I want that closed. Just text Judy, say you got no audio.
It's okay. I'll just try it here. They may not have turned the audio on because they're speaking amongst themselves. Okay, so there's the. Oh, I can hear them, but they're talking amongst themselves.
Donna, we can hear you.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yes, I just want to tell you, we can hear your conversation.
Perfect.
It's nice to hear that you're home.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
Good. Yes, he's ice fishing in the snow.
I think that's just a euphemism for drinking. Yeah.
Uh, The sun is coming.
Yeah, during March, it was like 13 above, above.
Yeah, the sun was beautiful.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Speaking?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, just after the presentation, John. Okay. Wait. Not quite. Yes, I got it this morning. It has some, oops, I should turn this. Okay, so it's nine o'clock. I will call the meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution to approve the agenda as amended with the following additions. 6M is report number 2024.70, a letter of support for the rural 60+ grant application. And 11BG, email from Angela Doyle dated March the 22nd, 24 for speeding on Highway 588. H, email from Rachel Kehoe dated March 25th, 24 regarding the Thunder Bay Springs Farm Conference, and also I, the AMO policy update 2024 budget. Is there any other discussion or additions? All in favor of the agenda as presented or amended? Opposed, carried. Donna, you can just call out if you want to oppose something. Otherwise, I'm going to assume your hand is up, okay?
Thank you.
The first item we have is a deputation, which is a request for a sign on Arthur Street West and the right-of-way. And Kathy and Tim, would you like to come forward, please? These two seats are fine, and just push the button where it says push so that the light is on green, and then the people in online can hear you as well. Thank you. Thank you for coming this morning. Looking forward to your presentation. So
Thank you for having us.
our
Can you
floor
hear
is yours. Yes.
Okay. Tim and I are, my name is Kathy Zanstra. I've lived in the municipality here all my life. Tim and I, this is Tim Janssens. He's on the board as well of the Right to Life Association. I'm treasurer and Tim is basically in charge of billboards. And we are looking at putting up a billboard in front of the Templeman Farm property here, just down West Arthur Street. And I learned from Chris Bowles that there is a municipal bylaw or a rule that basically no signage is allowed on the right of way of the roadways. Now, of course, you all know this used to be a highway, so this seems to have quite a wide and broad road right of way. And we do have some other billboards. We have several on Highway 130 and a couple on Highway 61. And we, of course, have to apply to the MTO for that. And I believe they would have the same amount of width on their right of way as this section of Arthur Street. So we were wondering if you would make an exception to the rule in this spot for this sign. Now, I did send in the letter explaining where it will be. There is a little map attached, and there is also an image in full color of the image that we would like to put on the sign. And we were just wondering if you would consider that. All right. No questions?
Okay, well, we do have the information you sent us
Mhm.
and the sign as well. And I know it's on the highway.
Okay.
Right on. So we'll take your presentation to council and we will get a report from our Director of Operations and we'll discuss it at a future meeting and get back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Yes.
Make it easy.
You did a lot of snow plowing just to come here.
I
Drive
had to
home
plow
safe.
my snow last night to make sure I could.
Well, drive home safe and thanks for coming. Thank you. Okay, the next item we have on our agenda is the minutes of the public meeting held on March the 12th. I have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. Were there any errors or omissions? As there were none, I'm sorry. March the 12th. I'm sorry, this was the public meeting. Yeah, the council meeting's coming up. This is the public meeting. Any errors or omissions? As none, I ask for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have the minutes of the council meeting held on March the 12th, and we have a resolution to accept, moved and seconded to accept the minutes as presented. Was there any errors or omissions? Sean? It's okay.
Board talked about 6B, It was suggested this may be due to the new ES system, should be an MPES,
MPES, okay.
medical priority dispatch system.
Okay. So I now have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as amended. And that would have been signed by Councillor Calvert and Councillor Campoff. Are you in agreement with that change? Okay. Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Oh, excuse me, Lucy?
Yes.
Sorry, thank you. With regard to the page 11, I'm sorry, page 28, resolution 99-2024.
Mm-hmm.
It was with regard to the easement agreement that we have with the racetrack people once again. Just wondering, is there going to be a further cost? And are those costs going to be coming out of the reserves? There wasn't any indication as to if there was going to be further costs to the municipality for that connection.
Donna, this is just to approve the minutes. So if you could just hold on with your
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry.
That's
okay.
okay. That's okay. You're not perhaps hearing everything I'm saying. So we have a resolution to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any other errors or omissions? As there is none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, Donna, and you had that item for discussion, resolution 99-2024.
Yes.
Do you have anything further? I believe that the presentation we had report we had last meeting indicated that the cost was, what the total cost was.
We didn't have a table in the report about the cost of it. There was a mention that the estimate for the switch was 10,700, and the survey we had to pay approximately 1,500. But no, there wasn't a full accounting of that matter. I think the budget for it was $16,983.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that report will be coming in the future from the treasurer when he makes the financial reports to the to us on it.
We could do that. We could have a breakdown of exactly what
Certainly.
things cost us.
Thank you.
Treasurer will provide that. Was there any other questions or discussion on any of the items of the minutes?
On page 20, for information only, there was a on number C, Provincial Day of Action for Litter, May the 14th. I realize it was just for information only, but I'm just wondering, in the past, the municipality has provided gloves and garbage bags, etc., and appreciate the efforts that the residents have put into cleaning up the roadways, etc. Just wondering if that's going to be an option again this year, and if so, could it be advertised, an advertisement put in the newsletter for the end of April, which will be out for the end of, or which will be out for May, seeing as it's May the 14th.
What page was that on again?
Page 37, I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought I heard 20, so.
It was 20 of the minutes, but anyways, that's okay.
7, okay.
11.2C.
Okay. Did you have anything to?
Lately, the last few years, we've been participating in that. We provide gloves and garbage bags to persons that participate in the cleanup day, and I think we'll be doing the same thing this year.
Okay, perhaps we could check with Director of Operations when he returns. I think he usually handled
Yeah,
that.
we'll be.
And it can certainly go into the newsletter for sure.
Hopefully we can find the sides of the roads by then.
Yes, we never know. Okay, was there anything else for discussion on the minutes?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we will go on to reports from municipal officers. We have the 2023 Annual Summary Report on the Roslyn Village Subdivision Drinking Water System. We've had a chance to read it. Is there any questions or thoughts on any of the information that you read?
Through the chair,
Yes.
page 46 of this report, section 3, data flow rates, where it says the drinking water system may be operated temporarily at a rate above the rated capacity where necessary for the purpose of fighting a large fire. Does the fire department have access to our water system for that purpose?
Not as a practice. There is a hydrant, or a couple hydrants that I believe are in place for flushing the system out. But it's not in our plans. There's not enough of a water reserve there for us to draw on that.
Okay, so then would that report then have to be amended to indicate that?
This
I-
report is being done by the consultant, and he's just giving us their options. We don't have to abide by them.
Okay,
So if the fire
And they-
department does not have that marked as going to get water for a large fire, then they won't be going there.
alrighty. And the only other question that I had with regard to this was on page 48, each of those OCWA non-compliances that were identified and actions to be taken, it says that the operator has to be trained. Is that their operator, or do we have to hire an operator to train for that water system?
Well, we do not have any operators. We hire Aqua to run the system for us, and it's, the comments mean that Aqua needs to ensure its operators understand what they need to do.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Councillor Campoff?
Question, maybe not so much a question, but just a comment on page 48, all those, and there's not a lot, and none of them, I guess, end up being, none of them are an issue for water quality. They're basically administration errors, but it was disappointing, I think, a little bit to see the amount of clerical errors that were noted in the past year by Aqua. So, I hope they do better in the future.
Any other comments? Okay. The next item we have is the Roslyn Village Drinking Water System, the HESSF application, page 50 to 55. And the CEO is here to address any comments you may have on that application. It is basically, when we were in Toronto, we were urged by the ministry to apply for this, even though we felt we weren't going to qualify. And she said, yes, you will, just apply for it. So this is basically what we are doing now, is applying for it, knowing that it's probably going to be turned down because we've had to do our own arsenic plant ourselves. And we can't wait, but hopefully the application will keep us in their mind, so that when we reapply next spring, they'll know about our process and our system. Is there any thoughts, or Councillor Campoff?
So I'd like to thank administration for, obviously, quite a bit of work went into this. The thoughts to put I guess a multiplex building on the one lot. Any other thoughts as to further development of the municipally owned lands there, or haven't gone that far, or what's the?
What isn't indicated on the map, but it's an issue, is if you look on page 54, the road allowance for Alder past Elm, in between Elm and Vibert, it's indicated that we own that entire road allowance, but that's not accurate. there's part of that road allowance that is owned by one of the property owners there. And in order to develop our lands, we would need to do something with that landowner to gain control of what looks like our road allowance. There's a block in there that we don't own. So that would be something we would need to address if we wanted to develop our lands there further.
Okay, but I mean, that's a fairly sizable chunk of land
Mm.
to the north of the built-up area on the west of Vibert Road, so I mean, there's a lot of potential there and for the future, I guess.
What we had, if you take a look at the map on page 55, you'll see that the proposed water main, we're going to be not going down the road allowance we currently have, but instead have the back lane in between the properties we own fronting on Alder and the private properties fronting on Maple. We're going to use that lane there for laneway, and there would be trees in between this development and the houses. But you'll see that the proposed water main will be carrying on from Maple and going up to the end of Elm. And the idea for having that spur going up there is for future expansion into those areas.
Any other questions or thoughts? This is just a start. You haven't totally come to a conclusion as to what's going where.
No, this is, it could change by the time we get it completed. But that was the main concept we had here. We need to have more users on our water system, we believe, because there's only 31 persons paying the bills right now. And this would double the amount of persons. And in the documents and the webinars from the Ministry of Ministry of Infrastructure, I think it is, or they were wanting affordable housing. So if we had thought, well, we'll have 4 lots, that doesn't really get you a lot of dwellings. These multiplex type developments, they get you more dwellings. And that's why we kind of come up with this kind of configuration here. But we did note that these approximately would be 1,000 square feet. Smaller size ones are generally those you find in more dense urban areas, and where the persons who live in them you rely on public transit, and when you live out in a rural area, there is no public transit. So we're kind of looking at a 1,000 square foot type size, and also not rental units, but they'd be ones for purchase, sale.
Through the chair,
Yes.
it indicates on this report that HEWSF covers 73% of the costs and the applicant is to pay 27%. We have no idea what that 27% may be, do we?
No, not at this time.
Okay. I'm wondering if that's a pretty tight timeline, with the deadline being April the 19th. Is that a tight timeline to try and meet? And the other comment that I had was that in listening to the budget from the provincial government yesterday, I believe there's going to be funding for roads now. So would that also possibly be beneficial to this project as well? Because road work is not covered in this. I didn't get the specifics as to what type of road work was going to be covered, but I did hear that it was going to be. So are we premature in submitting this application? I realize there's lots of work that went into it, and the 31 users are on the one side of the Roslyn Road, but there is one person on the other side of the of Roslyn Road that is also on the water system, to the best of my knowledge. So that makes 32.
Yes. Yes, this is a kind of an initial application. We were encouraged by the ministry to send one in, even though they realize we're not ready, not shovel ready for this. But it's just to keep our municipality in their minds so that when we send a completed application in next year, because this is a multi-year funding, then they will know what we're all about, and then it will be much clearer and much better identified as to exactly what it's going to cost and what's going to be going there. Wayne?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention in the report, it mentions you got the wrong acronym. It's not BDF, it's BFF, Building Faster Fund. And that was announced at the AMO conference in August 2023, but there's still no information about how it works or whatever. But we would assume that that's the program that would pay for road construction. When we looked at what the HEWSF pays, it doesn't have a road in there. So that's something an unknown at this point. And then the announcement today, the details, that's what we need to know. I don't know what impact it has on this, but maybe maybe you'd need to apply to those programs once they're out, kind of on moving parts in the situation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'd almost have to piggyback on one on the other if you could, to double up, get both.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it would be a benefit.
Hopefully they'll have all the information out for all these funds, by the fall, so that we know what we can do for next year.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, right.
One other thing I wanted to mention that it's something I need to know further about. In the documents for the program says that you cannot have started construction, but any cost after April 1st, 2023 would be eligible. So with regard to our arsenic treatment plant, we want to get that built as soon as we can. And I wonder, whether there's any exception to that. I'd have to inquire about that issue. We certainly want to get our arsenic-free water going, and having to forego some funding might be a choice we'd have to make.
Yes.
Excuse me, Wayne, with regard to that, were the water mains not taken, or the curb stops not taken down this far on the road last year when the work was done?
Water mains, I should say curb stops, were installed in all places that they were not where the water mains currently exist. So I think if you take a look at the table on page 53, identified 13 properties with curb stops that are currently not connected. So they would be on the places where the water mains currently exist and were replaced last summer.
Basically, when this project was done last year, it was done with the intention of adding the extra curb stops for future expansion, so we wouldn't have to dig that up again, and it was included in the money that we received, so.
And should this proposal come to fruition, this would not be these buildings would not be owned by the municipality. We would then put this out for tender and have someone else take care of it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, at the top of page 53 in the report, there's just a paragraph explaining how this would all come about. There'd be an RFP to a developer to do all these things. And in there, we wouldn't be able to launch an RFP until we had a confirmation that we're getting this funding. And that there would be, information in the RFP that there's X amount of money to deal with the water, septic, et cetera. But we wouldn't own any of the development, no.
And then would there, I guess it's difficult to say at the present time, but should we be successful, would there be a timeline that would be issued to us, and then we would then in turn have to issue it to the developer to ensure that this work is done in a timely manner.
Yes, yes, all of that will be coming clearer as all the information on the grants comes out to us. We haven't gotten all the ins and outs of the grant yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the next one is the Roslyn Village Drinking Water System. It's the arsenic reduction project, and it's just an update for us for information only. It's on page 56. Is there any thoughts, questions, or regards to the update of the drinking water system and arsenic? It's just
Through the
a-
chair,
Yes.
I'm just wondering why the change in the distribution site. The people live in Roslyn, and we've been able to provide water to them at that location. It only makes sense, and I'm not exactly sure how many people are using this this option for their water, but to me it makes sense to leave the water down in Roslyn. I don't know if there's an issue with the storage capacity available in the Roslyn Hall, or just what the reasoning is behind that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Director of Operations is not here, and he would be able to address that. I'd only speculate on why the distribution is coming back here. It could be an issue with employee availability. Once the summer comes around, those workers are more busy doing groundwork and things of that nature, and we won't be able to have someone there to distribute water, so we'll revert back to the office. And the reason we went in there back when was unable to keep the water from freezing in the shed out back, the garage. It's not, the heating system in there is not what it should be. But that's just some ideas that I have on why the Director of Operations wants to put the distribution back to the office.
Okay, anything else? As there is none, we now have a report from the Fire Department, the annual report for 2023. And it summarizes the annual operations that the Fire and Emergency Services had. It's page 57 to 62. And if there's any questions or concerns or thoughts on the year-end report, all I can say is that they had a lot of dispatches, 561 in total last year, which is unbelievable, almost 2 a day. So, well, not quite, but 1.5.
Yeah, it works out to about 1.5, and I think the busiest day we had 17 in one day,
Oh
so,
my,
and it's not unusual now to have, 3 or 4 calls in a day. Friday we had 4, Saturday we had 4 calls. A fire call and 3 medicals, 3 calls on Sunday. So, yeah, very, very busy, and you can see we're, 45% of the total CAC dispatch volume for the rural departments
it's to us.
is strictly us.
It's,
And Nebing's the next at 133. That's like 10% of the. So between Nebing and Shunya, it kind of bounces back and forth over
Mhm.
the years.
yes, it's something that I don't think many of us realize. Any other thoughts or questions? No, all I can
Excuse
say.
me.
Yes.
Sorry,
go ahead.
just as a comment, making a call to 911 works. The ambulance got to my house. But with regard to the RTC, we are receiving revenue, therefore there is a surplus, but are our operating costs reflected in the surplus? So equipment, use, fuel, heat possibly for the hall, different things like that. Is any of that taken into account, or is it strictly just the money in, money out, no direct cost calculated in there.
Well, we are working to define those costs better. It's not 100% yet, but we are working in repair and maintenance. We are working in fuel for trucks. There is money that's allocated, or not allocated, it's accounted for in administrative work. That's in there. So we're trying to define those costs, but it takes time to kind of work out where we're at the end of the day.
Thank you.
I would just like to ask you to pass on to all of your personnel. Thank you very much for giving us this fire and help first response services over the year of 2023, because it's unbelievable what they give to this municipality for very little financial return. But we do really, really thank them because they keep all of us that much safer.
I will pass that on. Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of don't realize what the numbers are until you see the report. And that, even for the fire calls, the average response time in 2023 was 3 minutes and 25 seconds faster than in 2022. So everything is moving forward. Thank you. Anything else? No.
I'd be interested to see after a year with this new program, how it all works out for that new call out system.
The MPDS, yeah. So I put in here that in January, we were actually higher in call volume than January 2023,
Mhm.
but MPDS wasn't in place yet. I think at the last officers meeting, we were at 68 calls, and that was like January 19th. And the year previous, it was 93. So we were down by 30 some odd calls. So, but it's still hard to determine. I'm going to send a note to CAC asking for total page outs by the color code so we can get a better idea of what's.
Yeah, it's a work in progress and totally for over time.
Thank you. Righty. Ontario Power Generation Grant in regards to the Zamboni advertising, page 63 and 64. This is just for our information and the potential advertising campaign to get some advertising on the new machine. Bernie?
So it sounds like, on the surface, certainly sounds like a good deal. But, I mean, is there an opportunity that we potentially could be getting a lot more for advertising on the Zamboni?
That's why we're looking at this,
Yeah,
yes.
so that was my concern, because I mean, it's like, oh, well, give us money.
This was their offer.
Yeah,
And so if someone makes the offer, you think,
Yeah.
who, if you put it out there, might give us a little more. It could have more than one organization on it as well. So I see it's an electric
it's
Zamboni. so
not a bad payout, but then 10 years, that's
That's
a
right.
long time.
That's what they pay for board advertising and so on. You
Yeah.
compare that yearly, you wonder. So
It's worth
that's a
looking into
good thing
it.
to look into,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me, through the chair, that Zamboni would belong to us, right?
Yes,
So, just thinking that Hydro we wouldn't have to share any of that revenue. But if we get advertising otherwise, should it be through the hockey team? Would we not have to share the revenue for advertising?
the advertising, I would assume, and I could be very wrong, but I don't think I am. The advertising on the Zamboni, it's our machine and it's our advertising money.
Okay. And then it indicates in here that the Ontario Hydro One device would not work with our facility upgrade for the with regard to the Zamboni. So is there going to be an additional cost then to the municipality to have the electrical components required for that new Zamboni? And is it in the budget?
Yes,
It was,
You want to come to the front and just speak here? Just into the microphone. Yes, thank you.
so the Charger and the Zamboni we're looking at was originally all-in-one from the Zamboni company. This Ontario Hydro deal kind of came in after the fact, and I guess they had this new type of charger that they wanted to I guess be seen getting used more.
Mhm.
So if they thought if it was compatible, we would use that instead of the Zamboni supplied charger. But it wasn't, so we're just kind of back to where we always were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so it was just a thought on the side of the OPG, Ontario Hydro, I should say. Any further thoughts or questions? No? Okay. Highway 130 bridge reconstruction on page 65. Again, this is just for your information. There's probably going to be some delays like there is on Highway 588, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have a nice bridge. Yes, Councillor Campoff?
I have some serious concerns about this one. I know we had seen this before. I believe I would have brought it up at that time, but at that time, we probably didn't have a good idea as to what the schedule is going to be like on the Stanley Bridge either. My concern is if both this bridge and the Stanley Bridge are narrow lanes, that's going to be a significant issue for some agricultural operations getting equipment moved around. Because at the lane width that they have on here, there's going to be people that can't move equipment on this bridge. If that's the same thing on 588, or they're going to have to go all the way to town. Like that's a pretty big detour.
Mhm.
So, or they'd have to go through Kakabaka and down Luckens.
Yes.
So,
No, that wouldn't work because Luckens you would end up at Stanley again. You'd have to almost go through O'Connor.
yeah, that's true. You'd have to go all the way
All the
through
way
O'Connor
to
somewhere.
595 and back again.
So yeah, so I don't know if that's, not sure about what the construction's going to be like on here. It says there's not going to be concrete barriers, but is it going to be the entire time it's going to be down to 3.4 meters? Is it, I mean, obviously it's a little late to have any influence on it if the tender's been out, but
And
yeah.
They do talk about barrels and candlesticks.
Yeah.
So perhaps those are movable when they're
Possible.
not working, they
Yeah.
may move them to the side.
And I know we wouldn't have been notified, but I thought, did they also say they were going to be working on the Highway 61 bridge in town too?
Oh, I have no idea.
I heard a rumor. I don't know. That could be something but that would
Future.
obviously be a bigger concern. Is that, yeah, you would maybe know.
I typically get notices on all the surrounding bridges and I don't recall seeing one on
Okay.
61, but that
Okay.
doesn't mean it's not.
Yeah, that'd be great. Great planning to have all three bridges narrow at the same time, but
Is this compatible to fire equipment? I know that the Stanley one is, this one would be the 3.4 meters.
Yeah, Stanley, I think that bridge is at 3.2 or 3.1.
3.2.
So this is slightly wider.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that it's not a permanent separation. It's just the movable barriers and they're only putting it up when they're doing the work.
Yeah.
That is my understanding.
yeah, so it might be a case of just kind of play it by ear. And because I mean, the equipment doesn't have to move every day, but there's going to be times, both directions, myself included, I have equipment that goes across that bridge that wouldn't fit on 3.4 meters. So
The timing will be important.
yeah, and
In
it's,
the evenings
and
or
it,
something.
yeah, if that's the case, that's not a big deal. We can work around that, but it's,
As long as the fire equipment can also get back and forth as well. Yeah, okay. Good.
just wanted to bring that up.
And through the chair, I'm presuming that the MTO would then indicate an alternate route coming up from 61 to ensure that people are aware that you've got, a narrow bridge ahead or whatever, so they may have to go through, right through to Thunder Bay and out the expressway rather than cutting off through 130.
Yes, they have signage in Stanley as well. They have it on Highway 1117 and they have it on the other roads indicating that the bridge ahead is only a certain width between this date and that date. So even the tourists with their large trailers and campers know that that bridge is narrow. Okay. Award procurement 08-2024 for a grader. We have a resolution moved and seconded that we awarded the grader purchase of a 2024 John Deere grader to Brandt Tractor for $441,935.92 plus tax. Any discussion on the report? Counselor Campoff?
Just curious, how comparable is this to the grader that we're trading in? Is same size? Smaller, bigger? Same capabilities?
It's a little bit smaller. The John Deere we have was a 770. So a little smaller, a little less power in terms of blade pull with the weight we have on it, and capability, more similar capability, but it is a smaller machine, and all of the machines quoted there are about that size, except for the 670G that Brandt Tractor, the other unit they quoted, but the Komatsu is about that same size, as well as the Cat 140. So it is a little bit smaller, but I don't know exactly what Chris, or the Director of Operations, he had made comments that they wanted a smaller machine. I guess they didn't need as much.
And we're using it less and less when it comes to road construction and plowing, so.
And I guess just the biggest thing is they want more of an automation on the controllers instead of the old.
Well, the comments on the controls there, that's actually to keep what we currently have on the
Mhm.
on our existing machine. I've learned a lot about grader control schemes, but I guess there's the old school, just hydraulic, like completely
Yeah.
kind of manual. What we have and what we're currently getting is similar layout, but it's electronic joysticks.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's a third option where everything is simplified down to just 2 joysticks. Steering and everything, like no steering wheel or anything. And I guess we just kind of determined that to avoid retraining and, staff
like-
having to learn a whole new system, or kind of keep with what we got. So
I never drove one of the newer ones. I drove the older ones where you just had to
Yes.
learn on those. Yeah, it's. I'd be lost.
Okay, so and if there are any more comments or questions, we have the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And on page 68, we have a capital variance chart for your information. This is in regards to the equipment that's been purchased plus the suspended heater. So just so that we know where we're standing. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor
So-
Calvert?
On this one here, where it says actual cost 551, like, is that correct?
yeah, that's the cost excluding the trade-in. And I don't know.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne?
I'll just comment about that. In our budget, we have a sale of equipment, and that's where we had budgeted $200,000. The idea was to get 140,000 for this unit and 60,000 for our plow truck. So you don't see that on this capital variance report because it was been an operating expense, but we are going to be bringing that information about that forward, about how we are making out with the trade-ins, the sales of our previous equipment, and as I said, 140,000 we were hoping to get for our old grader. It looks like 110. And the plow truck, we were hoping to get 60, but we haven't got rid of it yet, so we don't know what we're gonna get on that. But in the 2025 budget, we're looking at having the sale of used equipment, of our equipment, when we're getting rid of it as a capital revenue to match it up better.
So the trade-ins are not included or taken out of these prices?
No.
Okay. All right, any other comments? All righty, next we have the purchase of land from the MTO We have a resolution moved and seconded that we recommend the purchase of the property identified as PIN 62295-0111 from the MTO for $17,500 plus HST be approved, and the purchase made using the working funds reserve, and a bylaw will be presented for ratification. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have the pending list starting on page 77. This is when we have a look at our pending projects. So I guess they kind of start on page 80. So I'll pass it to the CAO just to go through them and.
Okay, so everybody has to be on page 80 to follow along. The first item we have on there is our Highway 130 intersection safety. There's a few notes there, what's transpired lately. The last one being the meeting we had with the MTO, where we talked about roundabout rather than the channelized intersection. They said they'd be providing us a summary of why the decision was for the channelized intersection, and they submitted it, and it's not reflected in this table, but on page 138 of your package, you see the response from MTO where they explained why the channelized intersection was chosen. Further down the page, there's no updates on a couple of projects. The info signs in the parking bylaw need to be bringing that up soon. Relevant for what the deputation was today. The fee bylaws, that's something that is quite a difficult project to get rolling with. There's a lot of research in our old bylaws needs to be done to get the information. Maybe something that we don't get on anytime soon. Right now, what we're doing is, like many places, is we have bylaws with fees in them for different things, and it works, but it's good to, there's advantages to having it all in one place. The highway safety project, that's we had the talk with the MTO persons on the 27th, and we talked about we would like to see the traffic lights at Florence. They said they would be doing some more traffic counts, and they wanted to get the engineering info on our permanent pole mounted signs so they can assess them. The issue was, are they breakaway poles, etc. So we're hopeful we can get that them installed soon. The record management system, that's in progress. We've got a student coming up to continue working in that file. The cemetery bylaw, that's an ongoing project. Going back and forth with the BAO on some changes they want. Looks like it's down to the final strokes with it. The first response review, the fire chief was talking a bit about that today. The MPDS system may be able to help us handling reducing our volume. The next part about the community safety and well-being plan, this is what we're required to do by SolGen. So we have one of the first steps in doing it is to set up an advisory committee. So we contacted 13 public sector organizations in writing, looking for people to be on a committee. And as of today, we've got 6 responses, and 5 of them were positive. So it's have to continue along with that and getting a committee set up. The compliance with the racing bylaw, there's a closed report today, legal advice on that matter. And the Rural Heritage Agricultural Society, there was last fall plan to talk with the RHAS about the lease. And administration is thinking council should talk about negotiation of the lease in closed session before meeting with the RHAS. And that's what's on the pending list.
Any discussion on any of the items? None?
Oh,
Okay.
through the
Council-
chair? Hello?
Yes, Councillor Peacock?
Oh, okay. With regard to the fees bylaw, I know how difficult that is to keep up to date, but perhaps each time we pass a bylaw to increase a fee or add a fee, maybe that bylaw number could be associated to that schedule as well. What is happening with the official plan and zoning bylaws? Are they still a work in progress as far as updating those two files? I know that there was some confusion with regard to the changes that the provincial government continues to make with regard to those requirements and allowable things, but just wondering if that's still in process. And if there's any type of public meeting that's scheduled in the future.
I don't believe that we're at that point yet. I do know that they are working on an official plan and zoning bylaw, but yes, again, it's waiting for the provincial planning policies, right?
Yeah, I was kind of looking for this on the pending list, and I don't think it is, this item. So that's something that we've put on the council term plan, and there will be a report about the council term plan on the last meeting of April. But there is some work going on in that regard. We had a report recently about the housekeeping amendments, which fits into that portfolio. And on the 9th, there will be a couple of housekeeping amendments coming forward. But with regard to the official plan as a whole, the hang up is the provincial policy statement. We want to make sure that what we do is going to be consistent with it. And the provincial government has not indicated when they're going to be done with this, although they've been having it on their radar screen for over 2 years now. So we are cognizant of that. There's a lot of direction that we need from them, as they've announced a lot of changes about how things should be, but they haven't put it into the provincial policy statement, and so that's a kind of a difficulty for us.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Oh,
Thank you. Oh,
sorry. One further question with regard to the property standards bylaw. Has that committee even met over the past few years? And is there a reason why they don't, if that's the case? Is it strictly complaint driven?
Yes, the only reason you have a property standards committee is to hear appeals. You need to have one. If you have a property standards bylaw, you need to have an appeal committee, and their only purpose is to do that. And that's what the legislation says. You can't use the property standards committee to provide input on the bylaws. They're not supposed to be doing that role. They're just supposed to be dealing with appeals, and we don't get any appeals. So we had an inaugural meeting with those people, and last term of council, there was one meeting of that committee, inaugural, and this time so far, that's all we've had as well.
okay. Nothing else? All righty, thank you. Next we have is a CMO depot operations agreement. We have a resolution moved and seconded that we approve the agreement, depot operations agreement with the CMO. It's open for discussion, page 82 to 107. Any questions, any thoughts? This is in regards to our recycling at the landfill sites, Councillor Kamphoff?
So I guess the advantage, at least the advantage in the report for going with option A would be that we have some influence over where CMO ends up putting their depots in the future, but we don't really know if we actually would have any influence.
No, but I think if we say we're out right now, I don't know if we're gonna have any influence if we go that way. And the other thing I'd like to point out as a pro for signing up with them is we will be getting some money, approximately $30,000 a year to offset our costs, which are generally our wages of our attendants and things of that nature. If we tell them to go away, what we understand is they will put some bins in your community, but they're staying away from municipal areas. And the other thing is you don't get any money, so that's why we're leaning towards we should sign up with them. From what we understand, last in the area, Nebing went with it. Last year, that was their transition date. In Shunya, we have an indication they're going to sign up with CMO. But Conmy did not. Last year, they decided not to go ahead with this. But I think we should go with it.
Step number 1.
And through the chair,
Yes.
on page 104, it indicates that the South Landfill site is open on Tuesdays. So that the circular material people, should we go with them? That would have to be changed to say Wednesdays, not Tuesdays. And with the cost that the municipality has had to incur with regard to materials that end up in the recycle bin that aren't recyclable, I think we better have another look at perhaps educating our public, whether it be maybe a handout when you stop at the shack to give your number, something like that, just so that we don't end up incurring additional costs for materials that aren't recyclable. And I have noted a couple of times at the landfill site, we used to have 2 attendants, one at the shack, one at the site. I know people don't like to be approached when they're doing their dumping at the landfill site, but just perhaps a better eye on what does go into the pit and what could possibly go into recycling. Maybe that enforcement basically should be stepped up.
Okay. Any other thoughts? We can definitely, we'll have to change that to Wednesday under the second section because the landfill site is not open on Tuesdays in the south, at the south landfill. Okay. Mr. Kempoff?
I did note one thing on page 105 of 139, where they had the list of blue box material collected, and they have a category for glass. But do they accept any glass?
No.
Okay,
No glass.
just no glass, period. Okay,
They- They just throw it in the dump.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And not aluminum foil and trays either,
But yeah,
just the cans.
is that any different than our current practice, or?
I don't think so.
No, these materials are what we currently report in our data call that we accept, so.
Glass we don't accept.
No.
So it's not, it's the same as what we have now.
In 2026, all of this will change. I don't know how it'll affect us, but almost all materials will have to have a recycle plan, including fiber for clothing and that type of stuff as well.
Mm,
So I don't know how that's going to affect us.
okay.
So.
Some of these things are difficult to deal with in Northwestern Ontario because we don't have recycling depots. Like, I mean, yeah, like for glass, where are they going to take it? How expensive is it going to be to drive it to wherever? Yes.
And just to confirm, this has only ever been intended for residential
Yes.
refuse. Okay, yeah, not, is there anything on the horizon, or have we heard anything about commercial or industrial or agricultural waste recycling, or?
Yes, go ahead.
Can try to explain a bit about what you're asking. When the government came out with this plan to have producer pay recycling, it was to be for residential, the end user getting the recyclable and paying the cost there. Other sectors were not included in it. And in our the payment that we get, there's a penalty. I think we've if I take a look at they determined by using impact assessment that we are going to have an amount using a formula 8.3%, which is based on the amount of assessment we have, that it's non-residential. And we'll lose a bit of money. And if you look on page 84, based on having 140 tons of recyclable mass, they're going to take $194 away from us for that's what they call ineligible source material. And to explain a little bit more about it, there's a resolution from some municipality in this package that we'll be looking at, because AMO, and maybe I think it's AMO, but at least some municipalities are asking the provincial government to change the regulation to put all types of waste, whatever the source, in. And so we'll see where that goes, but I think I understand I don't understand all of the recyclable industry, but I can understand part of this aspect of it. When this regulation came down, the provincial government, I think they probably targeted certain multinational corporations to deal with this. And the inauguration of it, there were 17 huge companies like, Procter and Gamble and Costco that sell a lot of stuff that has packaging, and they had to, I don't know whether they joined voluntarily or it was either pay or, so they're in there. So these companies are having to pay to support producer pay recycling for the residential. And I think those companies will be looking at, well, the small corner grocery store that they're competing with, if they're not paying, well, that's not fair to me, because that owner of that place may be going to the recycle bin, throwing their cardboard boxes in there and what have you, and they're not contributing to the CMO that pays the bill in the end. So that could be why the government left that out that way. But I don't have all the information about why this is and whether or not we should support that resolution of the municipality asking that the ineligible waste be included in this regulation. And right now, this is what they're doing with the ineligible stuff for this transition period. They'll be giving us a penalty on it. January 1, 2026, nobody knows what's going to happen, how that might play out.
So through the chair so if we're getting a penalty on it, does that mean we don't need to be asking our resident businesses or commercial operations we're already getting the penalty. Should they be putting the recycling into the same stream as the residential?
Well, that's what this is based on. The assumption is that the small businesses or whatever, it's not just them, it's institutional too. The school board, whatever, they pull up, so the janitor that works there, he pulls up with his truck full of recyclables and pitches them in there, and that's what they're talking about. And then there's the other recyclable stream where businesses have bins that they rent and pay somebody to go take them to the landfill. Where I think they take them to GFL, they don't take them to our landfill. But that's a different element altogether, how that works. But what this is intended to catch, this 8.3%, is the stuff that ends up in our recyclable bins, which is not residential.
Right, so they're basically saying they'll give us $2,707 a month for the depot operations. But they're gonna take $194 off of that to cover the cost of recyclables that are put in there by commercial, industrial, and agricultural.
And we can avoid that fee if we set up a segregation system that based on your property type, you're eligible to use it or not, but the cost of running that will be much higher than $194 a month. So
Right. It makes sense to just go with their system at this time. Yes.
By the same token, we need to make sure that we get the maximum amount of contamination in the recycling then. We need to make sure there's 4% garbage and not less.
But we also, let's be fair, where we have our fees for our landfill site, we do charge businesses, et cetera, that bring gravel truckloads or whatever of fill. We do charge them to use our landfills, so that may compensate somewhat for the $194 we're losing a month. So. Okay.
And through the chair, oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Go
Wayne.
ahead. Peacock, go ahead.
Does the city of Thunder Bay have a different recycling system? To the best of my knowledge, you could go to the Front Street location or to Maple Ward and drop off your glass and other items. And even though you are a non-resident, I don't believe there's a fee to go in to do that. So just in getting back to Councillor Campoff with regard to the glass, I think that if you want to take your glass for a drive, you could take it to a city site. And further to this, mention was made with regard to property ownership and types of lands and things like that as to who could take what to the landfill site. You know, vacant land can only take brush and debris, things like that, which was what we had previously. Are we getting any closer to having the new system for our landfill site that has been talked about for a few years now? For the cards?
The director of operations hasn't apprised me of where he is with that project at this time, but one of the things he did mention is that having this recyclable project here sorted out is part of it, because that is a factor in setting up the card system.
He had mentioned that to us at a previous meeting, that right now the kind of waiting for one system to be completed till we can commence with the card system. Otherwise, it's too difficult to go with the card system if you don't know what the person's bringing. And this way, he's waiting for this system to go through first. Okay. So we do have a resolution. Yes, Councillor.
Just the last point I wanted to make, though, although we're, talking about some of the unknowns about this and maybe some drawbacks, the best part about all of it is we're not going to be paying the carrier to take the stuff from our landfill to the depot on Highway 61. And I don't know what the figure was, that amount, but you see there on page 82, in 2023, we paid almost $195,000 on recycling. And some of that is allocated wages of our attendant, but most of it is hauling the stuff. And we're not going to be paying that any longer.
So that'll be saving us as funds as well, which is good. Okay, so I have a resolution that we recommend the depot operation agreement with the CMO be approved. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a date for the special meeting for the LRMC Fire Services in respect to Report 2024, which is on page 108. We recommend the scheduling of a special meeting for the LRMC at the following date and time being approved. We had April 10th, but that did not work for some of the councillors, which is understandable. It's We've now had, in discussion earlier at the meeting, had the option of April 11th. I was just wondering how it would work out for Councillor Peacock. For April the 11th, Councillor Viss had said that it was acceptable to him. I'm not sure about the other councillors.
I'm okay with that. Thank you for that consideration. Just wondering, is it possible, is the meeting going to be held at the municipal office? Is it possible to zoom in on that one? Or would I have to be at the municipal office just because I'm not going to be driving, so I'd have to make arrangements for a ride.
Okay, this is in regards to the meeting we had at the LRMC meeting we had at Roslyn Hall.
Yes.
So I would assume that, making an assumption here, Sean, that this is just our, or is that including all the other municipal fire chiefs? It's just us.
My understanding is a debrief on just us.
Just our, so it will be here in council chambers. So certainly if you want to attend by Zoom, it would be doable.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so April the 11th at 9 a.m., is that acceptable to all? Do we have
I'm
a
good.
resolution that the scheduling for the special meeting be approved April 11th, 9 a.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So that resolution was moved and seconded. Next, we have a request from the Rural 60 Plus. They are applying for a grant for some additional special funding, and the grant requires a letter of support. And since we are the largest municipality and the building is in our municipality, they have asked for a letter of support from the municipality for this grant application. Its resolution's been moved and seconded. I don't think we have if you have some kind of resolution or recommendation, if you'd like to read it, please.
Yes, what it says is that with respect to report number 2024.70, we recommend authorization of the CAO clerk to issue a letter of support for an application for a seniors community program grant application to be submitted by Rural 60 Plus for events and programs for seniors be approved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There's always asking for something, not asking for money, though.
It's the letter.
They're not asking for money.
Yep.
They're just asking for a letter. So, but if they don't have the letter, they won't get the money. We might have to go to another municipality for that letter of support.
I just wanted to comment that back in April of 2022, we
Same
did the same thing.
Yes, it was the same grant that came through 2 years ago, 4 years ago.
Through the chair, just a question.
Yes,
Who would sign that letter?
the CAO.
Okay. Just wasn't sure if the treasurer and the mayor were the same person for that organization.
Yeah, no, so CAO always signs the letters unless it's a specific letter to a ministry that they ask the mayor to sign for. Okay. The next item we have is the bylaws. We have an agreement to purchase the property from the Ministry of Transportation. The bylaw has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the bylaw in regards to the CMO Depot Operations Agreement. The bylaw has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have our actions that were previously brought to us, and new action items are on page 111 to 12 is the letter from Josh Mack, City Clerk at the City of Gwinnett West in regards to housing funding. And they are asking the federal government to reevaluate their lack of funding for municipalities with populations less than 50,000 in rural Ontario to make the funding available to us. It is my assumption that council would agree to that resolution. It can be brought back to us at the next meeting. Sure. Yeah, okay. And then we had a letter from the Michael Durand, Town Clerk, Town of Aurora, in regards to amenity sharing, an MOU with school boards for weekend and evening uses of their gyms. What is your thoughts on that? Councillor Campoff.
Have we had, a good relationship with the school boards in the past locally? Like, is this needed here?
I don't know, I'm just talking to the schools that I know of, Keckabek, Crestview. I have not heard them being asked to use the gyms on weekends for events, but no complaints about it. So what is your thoughts? Would you like it brought forward or not? No? Okay.
They've been pretty.
Our relationships have been good with the schools, yes. Yeah. Okay, ride share regulations and licensing. They want a more coherent and standardized regulatory framework for ride sharing services across the province. I don't know how much ride sharing we have in our area. And then we have a resolution on Highway 413, which I'm going to assume is not going to be for us. The Ontario Heritage Act, they want to amend to extend the deadline for the removal of listed non-designated properties from the Municipal Heritage Registry to 5 years. Yes.
Do we have, this is not an issue here, I'm guessing. Okay.
No.
good.
No. The Ontario budget funding, they're asking for a resolution, or there's been a resolution from the town of Amaranth regarding asking the province to treat all municipalities fairly and provide equivalent representative operational budget funding amounts to all Ontario municipalities. Well, I don't think we'll disagree with getting fair operational budget funding. You have read it. Is it something that you would like to?
Similar to the one that was earlier, 50,000.
Okay. Oh, the one that we received in the budget now in the report. Yes. So perhaps,
Page 122.
yes.
This one's also talking about how they should pause Highway 413.
Yes. So I think that is not in our area. Then we received a letter request to use the Rosen Hall for music jam sessions on the second or fourth Sunday evenings of the month at no fee. This is an organization that I don't know of all the persons. The one person, I don't believe they live in the municipality, but they want to go by donation only. I think that we should be careful about committing the 2 Sunday evenings a month when we don't know what groups might want it that will be paying a fee. So.
And through the chair, I agree with that. And they're looking at the potential of using the kitchen. So there's kitchen rental and hall rental that we could be losing out on the revenue, as well as I do have a concern that it says that there's discussion with regard to a 50-50 draw. Are they piggybacking on another agency that has a lottery license? Because lottery licensing for 50-50 draws are, there's requirements for an organization to register and for so long and things like that. So just not sure if they were going to be looking at the food bank to get a 50-50 lottery application, and it does as well say Sunday evenings from 6 to 10. Would that be like from 5 to 11 in the end? Because set up and take down, things like that. And there will be some costs to maintain our facility. So I'm not in agreement with this one at the present time, without further detail anyways.
There's no connection to the Rural Covered Food Bank with this group.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes.
So it doesn't say specifically in here that they want it at no cost, does it?
Yes, it says they're
Does it-
proposing the cost of entry would be donation only.
Yeah, for them, but
This person called me and
so they're
asked
asking if we'll donate
for-
these.
for the free use of the hall.
So
basically.
if they were paying the going rate, then that conversation here would obviously be different.
Yes, if they're paying the going rate, then another event would have to happen on another night if someone else came.
Yeah. So
So we can't have it going. I know the library has events there, quote, free events, but they are through the library paying for the use of the hall. So it isn't really free to the tax. It's not free. I don't know how to say it, but it's not free with what the word free means. So, your thought?
Well, my thought is it's if it's a community group, that it's something that the community is going to be involved in, and it's good for the, I mean, I would like to, try to accommodate them. But yeah, there's challenges with that, obviously, has been pointed out, so.
Not at a free. I'm not quite sure what the charge would be, but we could certainly, if a correspondence is sent back to the organization, and I'm not quite sure if this is local. I know some of these people are not Oliver Bapunj, but that doesn't matter. But if they, if a fee could be indicated to them at what the cost would be if they wish to rent the hall, so that they have that in the letter. Then, yeah,
More information, I think, is needed for, it's just kind of a blind thing they've thrown out here, eh?
yes, I do know that the thought was to have it for free. And they're indicating would be donation only. So my thought would be they're going to give the money to the local food bank, but it's not coming to the municipality for the rental of the hall. This is fashioned a bit after the one that happens at the Legion every month. And there is a donation only collection. That money does go to the food bank, but the Legion does not charge for the use of the hall. That's their choice.
Yeah.
So. Thoughts? We need more information, and that there has to be a fee paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In line with what we.
Yeah. And then what the fee is, could let them know through whatever the charge is for that many hours.
Okay, we'll ask them about, we can try to get some more information about it, and note that we charge for the hall,
Right.
and see what comes back, and likely be returning to council at some point.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So we need to have a resolution for that, or that's just administrative? Okay. The next item is the amendment blue box regulation for ineligible sources. I think we discussed that a bit already. Don't know if there was anything to there was anything here to ask the province for. This again is asking for monies from our, this is a little different number on the pages, and this is not blue boxing at all. This is
think we have-
looking for financial.
We've got we don't have the right resolution in here, so we'll have to bring this back. And we will try to get a bit more information about this, as we talked about when we had the report about the CMO contract.
Yes.
Not really sure what the ins and outs are of this.
Yeah, this one is the one that's looking for budgetary funding, which we've,
Hmm.
yeah, okay. And then we have some information from Alban Jones for running for AMO president for 2024. And we have a letter in regards to the delegate conference, the AMO Roma conference and OMPF funding. And we have the NOMA conference and the draft agenda. I think we've already sent in a letter in a resolution with those attending the conference. And the Ontario Senior of the Year Award on page 135, if anyone has a thought on that. And a message from Chief Darcy Fleury.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Lucy?
Yes.
Sorry, through the chair. Just wondering, for the senior, I think it was mentioned perhaps last year that it is there's a lot of documentation that's required to nominate a senior for Senior of the Year award.
Mhm.
So we do have a lot of active seniors that do continue to contribute a lot to our community. So even if we could just acknowledge it as being Seniors Month in the newsletter, that might be an option there for I believe it is in June, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it
So
is.
even if we could just acknowledge our seniors in June, most of us around the table being them as well. And with regard to the message,
Now, don't paint us all with the same brush.
I said most, not all.
She said most. Oh, you got a month to go, okay. I think Counselor has a way to go.
And as well as the message from Chief Fleury. Will we still be receiving the Oliver Papoonge incident reports that our police force provide us with on, I think is it monthly or quarterly?
Quarterly, yes. It's
Yes.
Yes. And he has also indicated to us at our last public meeting that he will be coming back to have one, at least one, maybe two in 2024, which is good in our municipality. Okay, Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to say we put ads in the Chronicle Journal. This year they gave us the whole schedule. And I've picked 3 topics to put in, and we're actually gonna put in on the June page for Seniors Week. So we will be having something in the paper for Seniors Week.
Perfect. Thank you. It's also possible for us to put this in the newsletter because the deadline is April the 30th. If any organization wants to do that through doesn't have to be a municipality that does it. So we'll put that into the newsletter. Okay, the next item we had was an email in regards to the timeline and planning for Highway 130 Arthur Street and Twin City Crossroad intersection, which was mentioned earlier. We have an email from Angela Doyle dated March the 26th, in regards to speeding on Highway 588. It is on our table, the email. I did respond to her indicating that it was not our roadway. But that I thanked her for her concern. And it would be brought to council, I told her. I do think that although she's contacted the Thunder Bay Police, that perhaps we should forward this also to the OPP, as it is their highway, and just give them a copy and say we've received this. We cannot change the speed. That's out of our limits. We can't even change the speed of our adjoining roads to an MTO highway. So, but if we could just send a copy, forward a copy to the OPP. Councillor Calvert?
I think just getting back to when we had that little meeting with the police chief and that was one of the themes brought out by most of the people there was the speeding.
Speeding.
It was like that was the most common theme, eh? But that's the nature of the beast out here. It's been like that for the last, 20 years. You can see the difference versus what it used to be.
Better roads, paved
Yeah.
roads, speeding comes with it. When you
Yeah.
had gravel roads, you just went a little slower.
I think it's a societal thing. You look everywhere, things are moving a lot faster than what they used to.
Yes, Councillor Campo?
It is a little bit extra disturbing though, for this particular resident. I mean, they're just around the corner from the bridge that's under construction, so people have to slow down for the bridge construction, so I can't imagine it would be better if the bridge was completed, so,
No, it'll be worse.
yeah.
And I, since she says that she did contact the Thunder Bay Police, we can also send a copy of this to our local police.
Yes, we can do that.
Just so they see it in writing, even though, just so her concerns are there. But I do know with Stanley Bridge, traffic has to be going much slower when they get off that bridge because the stop sign is like this far away from the corner. And you have to really come slow out there before you make a turn, so. Yes.
I just wanted to say with regard to this email, this resident did the right thing by contacting the police. When we had meetings with the former OPP detachment commander about speeding in the Kekabeka village. He said, persons, you don't call 911 when you saw a speeder, that's not going to work, but you call their office number and leave a message that on March 27th at 4 p.m., somebody was blowing by there doing 120. And they take that information and use it in determining when they're going to do patrols in different places, and could end up that someone will end up being nabbed as a result of providing information to the police. And on our website, the Thunder Bay Police numbers there on Balmoral, and I don't know what the OPP office number is, but you can always call and leave a message about you've seen a speeding at certain time, certain date.
That was something the chief brought up very often, was he said, when it comes to speeding, don't call your counselor and say, you know, last week all these vehicles are speeding. Call right away, give the time, where you are, where you live, the time that these vehicles are speeding, because that gives them a bit of a history so they can decide where they're going to put their patrols at certain times, because we only have one car. Yes.
Although provincial highway going through the 588 is OPP jurisdiction, the city police still have jurisdiction to set up radar on the highway and lay appropriate speeding charges, not just on.
No, you're right. And just now that you mentioned that, because I know our police, our Thunder Bay Police Detachment who police us, have had vehicles sitting on a specific road, I'm not going to mention it, on 588, just a little bit past the corner there as you go past all those houses. And the comment has been made to me by one of the residents, you'd be surprised how many he catches. So, you know, as long as they know, they will set up patrols, but they need to know the specific of when the times are that people are speeding, and it helps them put out a patrol and have a car, because there is only one car, so.
And through the chair, with regard to that, should our residents have an issue, I would presume that they would call the Thunder Bay Police non-emergency number, because the phone number for our police station located in Murillo isn't public knowledge, and with the officers on 12-hour duty, they may not get back for 12 hours. So am I correct in that assumption that they call the non-emergency number?
Yes, you're right. You're correct. Yes.
Yeah, it's the Balmoral station, the main police office there, and I think it's 684-1200. It's on our website.
And perhaps we should start to put that in the newsletter as well, so people know it. Okay. The next item we had was from the Northwestern Ontario Soil and Crop Improvement. This is their farm conference on April 3rd and 4th at the Kekabeka Legion. It's indicating the times they're open, and I think they have lunch on both days. So if, as a council, I'm sure if we want, they'll take our $25 and we can sit and converse with the local agricultural organizations and members. So that was for our information. Yes.
If I could, so the fire department typically put in a prevention. We're not putting one in this year. We got somewhat short notice, but they've also attached a fee to us attending.
Okay.
So the fire department won't be there this year.
Okay. Thank you. And the Thunder Bay Spring, that is the Thunder Bay Spring Conference. To the AMO policy update in regards to the 2024 budget. This is something I just received in my email this morning, and I sent to the office right away so it could be printed out. I'm sure they'll get you a copy. But it is interesting. There's a lot of interesting information here, which is funding for specialized equipment for fire services, transportation projects in rural Ontario, and there's all kinds. But the one that, the one that caught my attention was the confirmation that a return to property assessments will not move forward until the Ministry of Finance has completed a review of the property tax system. And I thought that was kind of kind of nice to see. At least it's in print, it's in writing. I don't know how many years this will take, but at least it's in writing. So, and there's also new $200 million community sport and recreation infrastructure fund. And a $1 billion municipal housing infrastructure fund. And a water and sewer fund. Everybody's getting something, but I don't know how many years this is over and when it will start, but good news. Okay, new business, Councillor Campoff.
I have nothing.
Nothing. Councillor Calvert? Councillor Peacock?
Yes, thank you. I'll try to be back around that table as soon as possible, but anyways, I appreciate the opportunity to zoom into these meetings. Thanks to the road crew for their efforts at this return to winter that we've had this week. Also, a reminder to residents that water test kits are available for no charge at the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. We did have some previously at the municipal office in the planning department. Not sure if they're still there, but there is an option to have them either delivered or a case of them picked up. Thunder Bay District Health Unit suggests that that you test your well both spring and fall, and there is no charge at the present time to have that water tested. The results go to the ministry office by the old train station in Fort William, or former Fort William. And I just had one other question with regard to the CMO agreement. Do we have an agreement with GFL right now that we are going to have to, like, is there a timeline associated with any kind of agreement with GFL for landfill pickup of recycling materials, or is that just kind of on a month-to-month basis? I apologize for asking this now, and I should have asked it earlier.
I'm not having that information at the moment there. I imagine there's if we have a contract with them that isn't month to month, I kind of be surprised, but and I believe this would start to the CMO on July 1st. So we do have some time to address that matter. We'll looking at that.
Yeah, those as the treasurer.
It's currently the arrangement at the landfill for recycle pickup is a fee for service. So if we don't have any pickup, we don't pay them anything.
That's right. And since it goes through the CMO, we will not be paying for that.
And GFL and our CMO is contracting GFL. So
they will be taking care of
Right.
those fees.
that's up until 2026. And
Who knows? Okay, any other new business from anyone, any other department?
Just happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter, you're right. Thank you. And we have a resolution moved in second that resolved to close session, the time being 10:38 a.m. And we'll take a 5-minute break and be back to our in-camera meeting. Thank you very much for those attending our meeting virtually or in person.